If I could give you one small habit that could change your entire life, I'd tell you this: talk to yourself differently for 21 days. That's right. The words you tell yourself matter more than you think, more than you imagine. The conversations you have in the privacy of your mind are shaping your reality, determining your results, and building your future. Most people speak to themselves in a way they wouldn't dare speak to a friend. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I always mess up. And then they wonder why life doesn't change. See, life doesn't respond to wishes, it responds to beliefs. And where do beliefs come from? Repetition. The things you tell yourself over and over again. So here's the challenge for the next 21 days. Speak to yourself as if you were the most capable, disciplined, and successful person you know. Because here's the secret: you become what you consistently say to yourself. Wake up in the morning and say, I am in control of my day, not I hope I have a good day. No, I decide how this day goes, and when challenges come, instead of saying I can't handle this, say I always find a way. Because if you say it enough times, your mind starts believing it. Talk to yourself in a way that directs your actions. Say, I follow through on my commitments. And guess what? When you tell yourself that for 21 days, you'll start acting like a person who follows through. Why? Because the mind doesn't like to live in contradiction. If you tell yourself something enough times, it starts adjusting your actions to match. Now, some people say, but what if I don't believe it at first? That's the whole point. You don't start lifting weights because you're already strong. You lift weights to build strength. And you don't start talking to yourself like a champion because you already feel like one. You do it to become one. For the next 21 days, replace every week negative thought with one of power and possibility. Stop saying, I don't know if I can. Start saying, I figure things out. Stop saying, I'm always stuck. Start saying, I create opportunities. And when doubt creeps in, and it will talk back to it, remind yourself, I am stronger than my excuses. I control my future and I take action. But let me tell you what will happen after 21 days of doing this. You'll feel different. You'll walk differently. And most importantly, you'll start acting differently. Because the words you say to yourself are the seeds of your results. So what do you say? Will you talk to yourself like a champion for 21 days? Will you plant the right seeds? Because if you do, I promise you, you won't recognize yourself at the end of it. The words we speak to ourselves are more powerful than we realize. Every thought, every phrase, and every internal conversation is shaping the way we see ourselves and the way we approach life. If you constantly tell yourself, I'm not good enough, your mind starts looking for proof that it's true. If you repeatedly say, I can't do this, your actions will reflect that belief. But the good news is it works the other way too. If you start telling yourself, I am capable, I find solutions, I follow through, your mind starts adjusting to align with those words. Most people underestimate the impact of their self-talk. They think words are just words, but words are the foundation of everything. Before a person succeeds in the real world, they succeed in their mind. Before they take action, they convince themselves that action is possible. The way you talk to yourself determines whether you see obstacles as roadblocks or as stepping stones. The person who constantly says, I always mess things up, will hesitate to try again. The person who says, I learn from every challenge, will keep pushing forward. The key is to make your self-talk intentional. It's easy to let your thoughts run on autopilot, to react to situations with whatever words come to mind. But if you're not careful, those words will pull you in the wrong direction. The mind believes what it hears most often. That's why people with self-doubt stay stuck in a cycle of hesitation. They don't realize that the same voice that's been holding them back can also be the one that pushes them forward. So what do? You take control. You decide that from this moment on, every word you speak to yourself will be a word that moves you forward. Then when you wake up in the morning, instead of saying, I hope today goes well, say, I will make today productive. When you face a challenge, instead of thinking this is too hard, say, I always find a way. And when fear tries to creep in, don't let it go unchecked. Speak back to it with confidence, with certainty, with power. Because when you control your words, you control your mindset. And when you control your mindset, you control your life. Every day, people talk to themselves, whether they realize it or not. The problem is, most of this self-talk happens unconsciously, shaped by past experiences, fears, and doubts. It's easy to slip into a pattern of negative thinking, to repeat phrases like, I'm not good enough, I don't have what it takes, or I'll probably fail. The danger is that these words start shaping reality. The mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's repeated. If you say something enough times, your mind accepts it as truth. But here's the key. Self-talk isn't just about repeating positive affirmations without meaning. It's about speaking to yourself in a way that aligns with discipline, growth, and action. It's not enough to just say, I am successful. You have to back it up with, I am successful because I stay consistent, because I push through, because I do what needs to be done even when I don't feel like it. Information without foundation is just wishful thinking. Real transformation comes when you reinforce the words with action. Imagine two people facing the same challenge. One says, this is too difficult for me. The other says, I am capable of figuring things out. That one sentence changes everything. The first person sees difficulty and stops. The second person sees difficulty and looks for solutions. And over time, that difference in thinking leads to a difference in results. It's not magic. It's not luck. It's simply a habit training the mind to speak the right words and then letting those words guide behavior. Most people wait until they feel confident before they speak confidently, but that's backward. You don't wait to believe before you speak. You speak until you believe. You say, I follow through even when you don't feel disciplined. You say, I am resourceful even when you're unsure. And eventually your actions begin to align. The words come first and the belief follows. So the challenge is simple. For 21 days, be intentional with your self-talk. Speak to yourself with strength, with vision, with purpose. Say things that move you forward, not hold you back. Because every time you choose the right words, you reinforce the right mindset. And when the mindset is right, the results will follow. Repetition is one of the most powerful forces in shaping the mind. What you say to yourself once may not make a difference. But what you say to yourself every day for 21 days begins to rewire your thinking. Most people underestimate the power of small, consistent changes. They think that motivation is about big, dramatic moments. But the truth is, transformation happens through simple words, repeated over and over until they become part of who you are. Or think about how habits are formed. A person doesn't wake up one day with discipline. They build it through small, repeated actions. The same goes for confidence, resilience, and success. If you tell yourself every day, I follow through on my commitments, that thought starts influencing your actions. If you repeatedly say, I handle challenges with a strong mindset, your brain begins to respond differently to obstacles. The problem is that most people have been reinforcing the wrong thoughts for years. They've been saying, I always procrastinate, I'm not good at this, or I never get lucky. And because they've said it so many times, it feels like reality. But here's the secret: you can change the script. For the next 21 days, make a commitment to feed your mind the right words. Not once, not twice, but every single day. When you wake up, say, I take control of my day. When you face a challenge, say, I always find a way. When doubt creeps in, say, I am stronger than my excuses. At first, it might feel unnatural. Your old thoughts will try to push back. But if you stay consistent, something shifts. Repetition creates momentum. What starts as words turns into belief. What turns into belief becomes action. And what becomes action creates results. That's how success works, not in sudden bursts, but in steady daily choices. The person who speaks to themselves with power and consistency for 21 days will not be the same person at the end of it. They will walk differently, think differently, and approach life with a new level of certainty. So the challenge is simple. Speak to yourself with purpose. Not just once, but over and over until your mind has no choice but to believe it. Do it for 21 days and you'll see just how much momentum can change everything. Your mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant in it will grow. If you plant strong, empowering thoughts, you'll see confidence, discipline, and success take root. But if you let weeds of doubt, fear, and negativity grow unchecked, they will choke out every opportunity before it even begins. Most people don't realize that their self-talk is planting seeds every day. The question is, what are you planting? Are you filling your mind with words that strengthen you, or are you allowing negative thoughts to take over? Every thought is a seed, and every repeated thought is like watering that seed. If you constantly tell yourself, I'm not smart enough, you're watering doubt. If you say, I can't handle this, you're feeding weakness. But if you say, I always find solutions, you're watering resourcefulness. If you say, I am consistent in my efforts, you're growing discipline. The mind will believe whatever it hears most often. That's why people get stuck in the same patterns year after year, because they keep feeding the same thoughts. Now, the key is not just to stop negative self-talk, but to actively replace it with the right words. Imagine someone who has spent years saying, "I'm just not good at making decisions." That thought has shaped their actions, making them hesitate, second guess, and doubt themselves. But if they replace that with, "I trust myself to make wise choices," something shifts. At first, it might feel unnatural, like they're lying to themselves, but if they repeat it consistently, that thought starts shaping their behavior. They begin making decisions with more confidence. And over time, they become the kind of person who truly trusts themselves. You have to protect your mental garden. That means cutting off words that weaken you and feeding your mind with words that build you up. Every day you have a choice to let weeds grow or plant something strong. Most people don't make that choice consciously, and that's why their mindset is filled with uncertainty, fear, and hesitation. But the ones who take control of their self-talk, who speak with strength and discipline, they are the ones who grow into something greater. So guard your mind like you would guard a valuable garden. Be intentional about the words you plant. Because in 21 days, those words won't just be thoughts anymore. They'll be your reality. The way you talk to yourself is like having an internal mentor guiding you every day. That voice in your head can either push you forward or hold you back. The problem is, most people let that voice criticize, doubt, and discourage them. They speak to themselves in a way they would never speak to a friend. But what if, for the next 21 days, you trained that voice to be your greatest source of motivation? What if you spoke to yourself with the same wisdom, encouragement, and belief that a great mentor would give you? Now think about how a mentor works. A good mentor doesn't just tell you what you want to hear, they tell you what you need to hear. They don't let you make excuses, but they also remind you of your strengths. Now imagine if you became that kind of mentor to yourself. Instead of saying, "I'm not sure I can do this," you say, "I may not have all the answers yet, but I can figure it out." Instead of saying, "I always fail at this," you say, "I'm learning and I improve with every step." This shift changes everything. Many people wait for external motivation. They wait for someone to encourage them, to push them, to remind them of their potential. But real success comes when you no longer need that from the outside, because you built it on the inside. If you talk to yourself with strength, discipline, and belief for 21 days, you'll begin to trust yourself in a way you never have before. You'll stop needing approval. You'll stop needing someone else to validate your path, because you'll have trained your own mind to be your guide. It won't happen overnight. At first, that old voice of doubt will try to push back. It will tell you this isn't working, but that's just a habit speaking. And like any habit, it can be replaced. Every time that voice tells you something negative, you correct it. You replace it. You take control. Most people live their entire lives letting their thoughts control them. But the ones who succeed, they control their thoughts. They train their inner voice to be their greatest ally. And if you commit to doing this for 21 days, you'll realize something powerful. You don't need a mentor, you just need to become one for yourself. Now the challenge is in front of you. For the next 21 days, talk to yourself with power, purpose, and conviction. No more weak words. No more self-doubt. No more feeding the wrong thoughts. Starting today, every word you speak to yourself must build you up, push you forward, and remind you of who you are becoming. And here's the best part, you're not doing this alone. We're in this together. Drop a comment below and commit to the challenge. Say, "I'm in." Let's build a community of people who refuse to let negativity win. Every day, check in, share your progress, and inspire someone else to keep going. Because in 21 days, you won't just feel different, you'll be different. And when you see the power of intentional self-talk, you'll never go back to the old way of thinking again. Let's do this. Let's grow. Let's win together.